Hi, if you're watching this video, you might be coming from my main channel upload about Greg Gutfeld, but as some of you might know, I did stumble upon some personality tests on a random website that happened to have a Greg Gutfeld page that I found in my research for the video. I say they're personality tests when they're actually called human respect tests. I've always wanted to know how much human respect I have. The original page that I found is for Greg Gutfeld. His name's fucking Gregory John. And the only reason I thought it was significant in the video is that it's more or less just copy-pasted from Wikipedia. The website itself is like a libertarian organization, which is why they have a page on Greg Gutfeld, because he is a self-described libertarian, even though he's not really. He was born in 1964. What's funny is the Advocates for Self-Government page doesn't even describe Gutfeld as a comedian, just a humorist. Even though the Wikipedia page it's mostly plagiarized from does describe him as a comedian. They didn't really feel like that was the right thing to leave in there, apparently. Let's get to the quiz. So there's a bunch of different human respect tests for some reason. Human respect test for libertarian. Human respect test for progressives. This is who they chose for authoritarian? Let's take the progressive human respect test. We'll score how respectful or coercive your beliefs are based on how you respond to basic philosophical questions. Progressives are known for their big hearts and sympathy for the downtrodden. I'm guessing you're open-minded too, unbothered by what others do in their personal lives. Yet when it comes to the economy, it's likely that you worry about income disparities between the rich and poor. It's likely that you care about social justice and gender equality. Okay, I agree with that. Before we begin, let's go over the two fundamental methods of social change. Persuasion is the method of convincing others. Coercion is causing others to act by threatening them with, or actually using violence. From our individual lives to complex geopolitics, these are the two methods people use to effect change. Now let's talk about coercion. As an individual, when do you think it's acceptable to use physical force to defend my loved one? You can fuck with me, but if you fuck with my family, you'll wish you were never born. It's acceptable to use physical force to make my friends donate to a cause. It's acceptable to use, to make an intruder leave my home. We agree that you should only use coercive force to defend your family or your home. After all, the police can't make it in time to help. Now let's discuss using coercive force to take property or money from innocent people against their will. So wait, this quiz is coercing me. It's reframing an individual emergency situation in the same way you would look at like complex economic issues. You want to take people's money away. Yeah, it's called taxes. You indicated it would be wrong for you to do it personally, to take property or money from innocent people. It depends on what the context is. Did they steal that property? Then yeah, you should take it back. These are really stupid questions. It's wrong to hire a third party, or it's okay to hire a third party because I'm not using coercion to take the property. It's okay to take property though. There's only like 4 questions. Your human respect score indicates your respectfulness is low and your coerciveness is high. You scored handcuffs. Let me share that on Facebook. That means you are either willing to threaten violence against others to get your way or have others threaten violence on your behalf. We encourage you to work towards human respect, which is a commitment to a world of happiness, harmony, and prosperity. You should consider ways to move your human respect score towards respectful. One way to do this is to try to imagine ways to realize your ideas through peaceful collaboration. Instead of thinking how to take it from others to realize your ideals, imagine how you could persuade them to be more compassionate and charitable. Okay, so I'm 80% coercive, even though there's only fucking 4 questions. I don't even understand how that makes any sense. So clearly the human respect test is very biased. Why is this the picture for libertarians? Why are libertarians Cyber Goku? Is this AI? The human respect test was designed for libertarians just like you. Bitch, I thought it was designed for progressives. Libertarians believe that people should have the right to pursue their goals as long as they don't harm others. As you may have heard, a core tenet of libertarianism is the principle of non-harm, which states that initiating violence against someone is wrong. We also refer to this as the principle of human respect. In other words, libertarians live by something like the golden rule. If you believe you should be able to live free and not be harmed, then you believe others should live free and not be harmed, as long as they are not harming anyone in the process. No one disagrees with that. It's acceptable to use physical force, to defend myself, to compel others to do what I think is right, to compel others to be tolerant. I guess let's just say defend myself, which is what I said last time. Excellent. They're coaching you. They're literally coaching you on the right answers. Some people think that whatever is wrong for an individual to do, such as to threaten or initiate violence, is also wrong for a group. But others think that when it comes to a group of individuals, something changes, making violence okay. For example, if a group of people decides to take your property against your consent, then it's okay. Again, how did you get that property? And also, how is that taking someone's property doesn't necessarily imply violence? It can, of course it can. It's also important to clarify that this test, when it's saying groups of individuals, it's just talking about the government, which is not just a group of individuals. They're like elected representatives. So it's not exactly like an honest comparison when you can't use the names of the things that you're talking about, and you have to use the names of other things to coerce people into thinking that you're unbiased. It's like a fucking 9th grader wrote this. What is wrong for individuals is also wrong for groups of individuals. Let's say you'd like to have a community swimming pool. You and some neighbors decide to put the question up for a vote. What, to have a pool? Even if nearly half of your neighbors vote against the pool, they will still be forced to pay for it. Note that refusal to pay means government agents will initiate violence against them and forcibly take their property. Oh my God. I don't want to pay for the swimming pool, and then the police fucking break your door down and blast you away. If the act is carried out by voting, it is right to force your neighbor to pay. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think voting is good. For a libertarian, you're pretty low on the human respect dimension. Not the human respect dimension. How do you do everything respectfully? Not enforce laws ever? Just don't have any rules or laws or... What a stupid quiz. How do you get... I thought I did everything right. How do you get 100% respectful? Voting doesn't change the fact that initiating violence is wrong. I'm not initiating the violence. I'm just voting for a swimming pool, goddammit. You've come quite far now. Based on your answers, you've indicated it's wrong to initiate violence against your neighbor even if you delegate that violence through a system of voting. Do you realize that democracy gives a majority coercive power over the minority? In local elections, voter turnout can be as low as 10%. In such cases, only 5% of +1 of eligible voters delegate coercive power over 95% -1, the majority of whom never even voted. I don't really know what you're trying to say there. I think voting should just be mandatory. You should just have to vote. And then that solves that problem, doesn't it? If you believe initiating violence is immoral and that democracy, which is ruled by a majority vote, gives people the ability to initiate violence against an unconsenting portion of the population, what can we conclude about the morality of democracy? Democracy is fundamentally immoral. If it's fundamentally immoral, I guess that makes me respectful. Based on your answers, it appears you have consistent principles. You believe that democracy is immoral to the extent that it allows for the initiation of violence over others, which you have indicated is wrong. What if democratic voting was totally voluntary, meaning that it required the express consent of everyone involved and coercive force was totally removed? There's just no way to do that, unless you just have people who can opt out of laws and opt out of participating in society, which is not how society works. Let's say you move into a community where you agree to pay membership dues to enjoy certain benefits. In the agreement, you have the right to leave as long as you have held up your contractual obligations. A portion of the dues you pay can be spent according to how the community votes. You consented to the process in advance by signing a contract and moving into the community. So the only difference between this and the stupid fucking pool is that the money doesn't go to the government, it goes to whoever the fuck owns the house that you live in, I guess, that you don't vote for or have a non-transactional relationship with. And there's a piece of paper that you write your name down on. Is that really the main difference? Oh, okay. Democracy is moral when you sign a contract to do it. It's not moral when you just have to do it. Even though the test itself was just talking about how most people don't vote in local elections, like 90% of people don't vote in local elections, but democracy is coercive and immoral? No one does it. If one consents to the system of voting in advance, it is okay because no coercive force is being initiated. The parties are only enforcing the agreement. Any voluntary governance system is okay because it uses advanced consent. That feels like the same thing. Consent doesn't necessarily make sense. Whatever. I'll just say this because it's what they want to hear. Superb. You've made it further than most. I like how the quiz just ends when it decides you're not libertarian enough. That's not how quizzes work. You've indicated that a system is okay if coercive power is not being used to force your obedience, and it always depends on your prior consent. Accordingly, a system is wrong if it uses coercive power to force your obedience and compliance, and it offers no opportunity for prior consent. That's just society. I didn't consent to drunk driving being illegal, but that doesn't make it any less wrong or illegal. It doesn't matter if the government is coercing me into not drunk driving. I can't do it. It's not allowed. But it is actually an immoral law because it uses violence against my consent. If initiating violence to force your obedience is wrong, and government action is initiating violence to enforce your obedience, then government action is wrong. Do you agree? That's literally coercion. This is such a dishonest test. Government action is wrong, but it still might be necessary evil. Oh, I'm still 100% respectful, even though that's not really what I want. We can see that you have a strong moral character and an open mind. Based on your answers, your human respect score indicates that you are a libertarian anarchist. A libertarian anarchist is simply one who believes the justified forms of governance is one by which he consents to be governed. That means real social contracts, not imaginary ones. As if real pieces of paper are any more legitimate than the imaginary social contract of living in a society. It's still imaginary. You just wrote your name down on it. A libertarian anarchist is also committed to peaceful interaction whenever possible. Under their view, anything that is peaceful in society should be allowed. As long as one's way of life, religion, opinion, wealth, or career preferences don't harm anyone else, then no person, group, or government is justified interfering. This just makes libertarians sound like little babies that are scared of violence. As if violence wasn't literally necessary for this country to exist throughout its history. Compare political types. Compare political types and learn about the Nolan chart. I want to understand the difference between libertarian... Oh, progressive isn't on here. What's the difference between liberal and conservative? Conservatives and progressives. That's not what I clicked. Liberal versus conservative. They don't know what liberal means. God, these guys are so stupid. The Nolan chart is a basic mapping of political types that is more detailed than any simple left-right axis. Oh, God. Maybe it's just me, but any political graph is genuinely a red flag. Trying to quantify and place yourself on a graph instead of actually having positions, principles, and morals to back up your stances is pussy shit. That's for nerds. I don't need to know where I sit on your imaginary stupid little graph. I just have stuff that I actually care about. Progressives, sometimes referred to as liberals, those are different things. You can't just say they're the same thing. They score lower on economic freedom, but higher on personal freedom. That means progressives are quicker to embrace values of personal choice, but place a comparatively lower value on private property rights or investment, production, and exchange. Not necessarily true. Many progressives think capitalism is a system that allows the strong to prey on the vulnerable. I mean, that is true. Most progressives are committed to the administrative ordering of society along economic lines. Because progressives view themselves as advocates for those they consider dispossessed or disenfranchised, progressives favor wealth redistribution. Such redistributive policies include high taxes and revenues to fund centralized social programs or welfare schemes. Welfare scheme? In recent decades, many progressives have moved away from supporting civil liberties such as free speech and legal doctrines such as equal treatment under the law. Instead, more progressives think that social justice requires abandoning civil rights in favor of equity, which means equality of outcome. More contemporary progressives are willing to curtail the freedoms of certain groups, such as the wealthy, whom they view as oppressors operating in an unfair system. I mean, can you really say that the wealthy aren't oppressors in one way or another? Nestle uses slaves, like real slaves. You think the CEO of Nestle shouldn't be in jail? Do you actually think that? What was that about the weaponization of violence and like coercive structures? I don't want to do this anymore. So what did we learn today? I score low on the human respect test. I'm 2%, whatever it was, human disrespectful because progressives hate freedom. Thank you so much for watching my video. Make sure to click on another one to watch. And make sure to check out my main channel video on Greg Gutfeld if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Bye.